Hi, lovely booktubers. I'm Debs, and welcome back to my channel, Raina Reads Stuff. I am in the book shack, sort of light outside. That's nice, starting getting lighter. I am here to give you my weekly reading wrap up because it's Sunday and that's what I do. It's not going to be hugely long this week because I haven't read very much. And some of what I have read, I can't tell you about. Let's start. At the beginning of the year, I set myself some challenges. There's 10 or so. Um, I'm quite happy that I've ticked most of them off this month. I've read a couple of history books. I've read a couple of plays. I've read some poetry. Uh, I've read an author that I hadn't come across before, Terje Vesas, Norwegian author. I read The Ice Palace. It was very good. I've read a couple of banned books because of the 24 in 24 challenge that MJ at Reading This Life has set up. I've read an Around the World book. Quite a few, actually. I've read quite a few Greek or Roman poets, lyricists, authors, politicians. So that's been good fun. Um, so let's start with one that I did need to click off my list for this week, and that is England, My England by D.H. Lawrence, which I have read specifically because he is was a Nottinghamshire-based author. Nottingham is the city of literature, and this is the first in my reading of books where the authors are from Nottinghamshire. I want to explore why Nottingham is a city of literature. So, England, My England was actually published in America before it was published here, and it was published in Great Britain in 1924. I think it was published in the US in 1922. It's a book of short stories that there is sort of a link between the short stories in that most of them include a mention of the First World War. They are not First World War stories. I think the one that comes closest to being a First World War story is the titular story, England, My England. But even so, it only becomes a story of the First World War right at the end. And this, it's about 40 pages long. It was one of the longer of the short stories in here. There's, I think, 15 in here. And I loved them. I love the way, oh no, there aren't 15 at all. Hold on, 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 10 in here. I'm exaggerating greatly. Um, I love the way D.H. Lawrence writes. There's a lot of there's a lot of description, particularly sort of pastoral description. Some of the stories have a very abrupt ending, which some of them were, oh, okay, you've stopped now, have you? Right, that's fine. But some of these are just beautiful. And England, My England, our protagonist marries. He's from a nice family. He has a reasonable but not extravagant income. He marries the daughter, one of three daughters of a northern industrialist who's made plenty of money, and they start to live in a cottage on his estate. And they have a couple of children, and he just sort of retreats from the real world, really. He spends his time doing things in the garden not well, um, so they're not going to last. They're not exactly necessary, but he won't do anything else. He hasn't got a career. Um, he's a bit of a strange one, really. And his wife, who has the example of her poor boy made good, hard-working, very blunt northern father, is a bit bemused by him. Um, I won't tell you how it ends, but he the the First World War begins. People are caught up in it. Um, Sometimes in these, there's just a mention of soldiers. So there's one story where a husband returns after 16 years absence. He's walked out on his wife, who is the landlady of a pub, and he suddenly appears. He went to America. Um, he worked. He made some money. He didn't contact his wife or his daughter, and suddenly he just turns up in their life again. And the only mention of the First World War in that is that there were a couple of soldiers billeted at the pub. But most of them have a mention of the First World War. I'm not sure why, but I enjoyed them. Um, like I say, I love D.H. Lawrence's prose. Um, I like his short stories just as much as his novels. Not that I've read all his novels or all his short stories, actually. But this is the first one in my Why is Nottingham a City of Literature category. So, thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm also planning to do a deep dive on one of my favourite authors, who is P.G. Wodehouse. And I love the Jeeves and Wooster books. I've read some others, like Sam the Sudden and things like that. My husband bought me maybe 10, I think, for my birthday, old Penguin Classic. So I read this one, Dr. Sally. It's hilarious. I absolutely loved it. As usual, for a P.G. Wodehouse book, you have the confusing attempts at romance, and there's a lot of confusion in this book. We have five main characters. One is a lord, he's also a doctor, and he is a keen golfer. And he comes across young Dr. Sally, who's an American woman, um, and she is a medical practitioner. He also is a medical practitioner, but what impresses him the most is the way she plays golf. And he is desperate for lessons. He's never seen people succeed with shots like she does. Um, he is staying in a hotel somewhere on the south coast because he's looking for his nephew, who he thinks is wayward. His nephew runs a country estate and is fine when he's running the country estate, but every so often he has a little bit of a fit, goes off to London, and then he starts behaving in a manner that our good doctor does not like. So he's there looking for his nephew, who he thinks has disappeared with a totally unsuitable woman. In the meantime, we have Bill, who is the nephew. One of his friends turns up, who is a lord. Um, he's also looking for Bill. No, he was going to go and see Bill. But in the hotel lobby, he sees Lottie, who just happens to be his ex-wife. And so he follows her upstairs, only to find that she is the person, the unsuitable female, that Bill is entranced with. But then Bill says he's never going to marry Lottie. She's not suitable for marriage. What he wants is to find real love. Lottie throws a fit and several cups, which smash all over the floor, goes into a dead faint, and Bill yells for his friend to go and find a doctor, and the doctor they bring back is Sally, and Sally attempts to treat Lottie while Bill stands there absolutely gobsmacked. This is the woman he wants to marry. So our Lord, who is a doctor, drags Bill off home. Bill comes up with a plan to get Sally to visit him on the pretense that he is sick. But at the same time, his uncle decides that he is going to cure Bill of what he feels is his infatuation with Lottie and invite Lottie down so he can see how unsuitable she is in the surroundings of their country home. This is chaos. This is fun. Who ends up with whom? Who knows? Because I'm not going to tell you. But it's really, really good. I had a couple of laugh out loud moments in there. There's great banter. I like the way that P.G. Wodehouse writes formidable women. Now, often in the Jeeves and Wooster stories, these formidable women are his aunts. But in this one, it's Sally. Sally knows what she's on about. She might be young, but you're not going to pull any wool over her eyes. It's a great read. One Time's Little Black Book. It's a Little Black Penguin classic. I thought I'd read all the authors of antiquity. I was wrong. I found Aesop. I think Aesop's a bit preachy, to be honest. I mean, these were fun. These were okay. I prefer the Just So stories. Um, I mean, they're easily accessible, these. I don't know whether these ones were actually written by Aesop because there appears to be a bit of a controversy over whether he actually wrote them or not, or whether he wrote all of them. Lots of different Aesop fables have been published. The Dolphins, the Whales, and the Gudgeon. I read it because it was the last one that I had to read from writers of antiquity. I'm counting it towards my Read What You Own challenge because it's a book. It might be a little book, but it's still a book, and I read it. It was all right. The last one is the one I can't talk to you very much about. I'm reading this. This is a buddy read with John David and Stephanie Cohen, and I finished it, but I haven't discussed it with them yet, and I'd quite like to do that before I wax lyrical about this on here. Suffice to say, I found it really interesting reading a book by a classicist. I'm not sure I have, other than Mary Beard. I've read another Mary Beard book which was about women in power, which was, it was more of a manifesto, I think, than anything else, but it was looking at historical evidence. But I don't think I've read any more books by classicists. I read books by archaeologists, I read books by historians, but they're not necessarily the same. And I found this really interesting. And having just read, what did I just read? Scenes of Prehistoric Life by Francis Pryor, who is an archaeologist. There was a noticeable difference between the two. And I enjoyed them. I enjoyed this very much. We'll definitely be reading more Mary Beard, but I'm not going to tell you all about the book itself until I've discussed it with John and Stephanie. So, I have ticked off all of my challenges that I'd set myself for this month, bar one. And this is the one. I am still working through it. War and Peace. I am midway through volume 3 now. I've still got a few hundred pages to go till the end though, and I really want to get it finished in January because otherwise I cannot tick off my one classic for this month. And that would be very sad when I've done all the others and it's the first month of the year. So I'm going to settle down to that. There's one other book I'm reading that I would like to get done by the end of the month, and this is Professor Alice Roberts' Buried. I'm midway through this. This is a buddy read with Claire Shepherd, and we are due to discuss it tomorrow afternoon, I think. It's very good. I'm enjoying it. And again, this is a book that is noticeably by an archaeologist rather than a classicist. It's really interesting comparing the two styles. Professor Alice Roberts is very chatty in her style. Um, some bits of this are quite harrowing. It's, yeah, I mean, we're obviously talking about funerary rites and uh, why people are buried in the way that they are, the discoveries that have been made. And among the discoveries were an awful lot of infant bodies. And it's quite tough to read, really. They were all in one place, they were Roman. But anyway, I'll tell you more about this next week because I will have finished it by next week. So, what have I got coming up? On Tuesday, I'm actually going to do a Tag Tuesday video. Um, I also have a February plans video for Thursday. And there might be one more. Have to wait and see. I hope you've had fun and you've been reading lots. Obviously, some of these books were for Historathon Q1, which I am enjoying immensely, and am a new co-host of. Some of these books are, well, all of the books are the Read What You Own challenge. Some were for, of the books that I've read this month were banned books. On the Read What You Own challenge, that puts me up to 75 completed books. So I am finally in the last quarter. And I am, yeah, desperate, I think is the word, to finish it and buy some more books. We'll have to see how I get on. I definitely want it completed by the end of February. So 25 to go. Wish me luck. Let me know what you've been reading. I hope you're having fun and keeping healthy and happy. And thank you very much for popping by. It's lovely to see you, and I hope to see you again soon. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to. Have a wonderful week, and that's about it from me for this week. So, bye for now.